Hello people, and welcome back to part 41 of the Noobs Guide to City Skylines. I hope you're having a wonderful day. Thank you for all the love and support last week when you guys really enjoyed the little build of Francis up out here in the hills. And I really enjoyed it too. I really enjoyed building rurally. And we will certainly come out here with at least one more town in the hills, probably focused around some sort of ore mining industry up here on the sort of grander hill overlooking the entire city. But today I'd like to take a break to go ahead and talk to you guys about a really fun service build. So we know now that as we've been playing Cities Skylines that we don't just throw assets down and leave them to do their job. If we need power, then we build a power plant, for example, alright? So I want to extend this vibe today by coming in to talk about the mass water treatment and garbage processing build that I think is going to sit really nicely in this corner of Noob Yoke. Really interesting, unique sort of builds, these ones. So a place where we can process all of the sewage garbage and sewage sort of stuff that comes out of them, I guess. There's no real way to finish that sentence other than that, is there? But these assets are all super industrial looking. Lots of towers and silos and smokestacks, and we can do some really nice things with them in vanilla. So, let's talk about mass processing of feces in City Skylines, shall we? Okay guys, so first thing I want to do here is actually rip out this entire highway network because, like with most other things, orientation and positioning can really help a build come together, especially when it's industry in vanilla, of all things, okay? So let's come in and grab our highway road, and we're going to want to snap to a road guideline here initially. Let's just come out by 10. So we want to make sure that these two are parallel with each other, and then let's go ahead and grab a little bit of level terrain, and then we want to grab the height that the highway roads are sat on. And then I'm just going to say, I want this layer here now. Let's come up for a larger brush size to run kind of the duration of this section of the map. Because I'm going to want some sort of fairly obvious layers here to help the build settle in a little bit more. Okay, there we go. Looks a little bit harsh right now, but just bear with it. Right, a little bit more than that. Cool. This should give me the room that I need. So I just want to run these, making sure that we're snapped to an angle snap. And then that's going to give us really nice big stretches of highway to work with. And then we can terraform all of this out and then hook the highway back in. And then we can just repeat the measurement on the other side exactly the same again. So you kind of get this S bridge, if you like, that hooks in to your network here. It's a nice and simple one to do. So once you have your sort of main S interchange like here configured, we can bring in those highway slip roads again. Let's go over there. And then this will come up by 120. Same again on the other side. We can find out that's a distance of 330. That should be enough for us. Get it symmetrical if you like. And then we'll have another little slip ramp in there, which allows people onto this network to cross the bridge. And then we'll also repeat a similar sort of slip system, perhaps a little bit further down here. Let's go for that one. Let's do 120. And then 330. And then connection will be my sort of barometer. We'll do, what was that connection we did there? 240. There we go. Let's have that in there. And then we can repeat the same down this side again. Let's go ahead and do a little 120 curve. Down by 330. And then in by 240. So it's a really cool configuration system. And we use this sort of slip network idea for Navaria's cargo service interchanges, and had a really sort of tremendous amount of success with it. It's really handy. It's quite unique. It does a job for you and very easily decoratable as well. Lots of trees and patterns to be brought through here during our detour time-lapse, of course. Otherwise, let's start placing in some of our main assets. So start bringing out some spines. Okay, we're going to have different things knocking around here. First asset that I'd like to include is going to be the waste processing complex from Sunset Harbour. This is going to, again, process more garbage for the city. And it looks really cool as well, doesn't it? So again, orientation here now. We're sat looking at sort of this larger industrial complex with all these industrial looking roads as well. Okay, and some of them already using the system. See, he's crossing the bridge to get back onto the highway. And he's going to take this exit now, isn't he? And then he's going to slip down here. And then he's going to go. Of course, you can do layer mathematics on the highway here if you want. You can just downgrade these into 2-lane, but because it's a fairly quiet interchange, the lane math isn't really needed for something like this. So it's up to you if you want to include it. Depends how anal you are with that sort of stuff. Okay, so let's wrap up our processing complex. I'm going to be happy with that, I think. Alright, cool. So let's start extending out some frames here if possible. What I would like to do is hit a road guideline of the highway. Just say, for example, this one. And then I want to drop this in like that. Alright. And then let's have a look at some of our water assets now. So really looking at the pumping service and the tank reservoirs here. Sort of inspiration as to how we can perhaps build. Okay, so I think the pumping service assets are going to be the most appropriate for me. Again, just having them positioned against the highway like this, it really adds to that industrial feel, doesn't it? So I think I can go with that, but am I massively happy with the final orientation there? I think I actually might want 2 of them backing onto the highway, so why don't we explore that possibility together? If we were to bring in another holding frame here and then bring that one in, that's happened to be perfect. That was not planned, but yes please. So why don't we go for 2? Alright, so we'll have our pumping services here. Not that we're really playing with natural disasters on, and every time we do flood, the water just dissipates of its own. I don't need a pumping service to come and clear it for me. But there's still assets worth including, I think, from the natural disasters DLC. They do have a very industrial look to them, so I think there's definitely time for them if you like. Okay, and I'm happy with that. That's going to be great. Let's go ahead now and hook this into the network. Again, there's not going to be vast amounts of industrial traffic around here, so some sketchy node work like that is acceptable. Alright, cool. So that's not going too badly, is it? Definitely want to carry on extending sort of the water or the industrial vibe alongside the highway, so let's continue to respect the orientation of our key assets against this main infrastructure that's lying out here. We'll give it services as well in a second. But there's another one. Let me turn off the weather as well. I'm sure that's annoying to watch. Is the tank reservoirs. These little numbers here. So let's go into a dirt road this time. And why don't we go for a connection there. Then hopefully it looks like our... Oh, just slightly too short. So we'll come a little bit deeper than that. There we go. That should be good. There we go. Yeah, that's fine. Okay, so we can have a few of these knocking around. Let's go ahead and perhaps drop in so that we can get 4 of them in. So we might as well go for a big batch of 4. Okay, hook them in and then leave them to be connected into the rest of the network. But again, you can see now repeated patterns of them. So these ones are a little bit more useful, the tank reservoirs. If we have a little read of the description. So the reservoir will automatically supply the city if the water need is greater than the production. So any water you stack in here, you will have a little bit of leeway if you do fall into the orange. Then these will sort of, get you out of trouble, so to speak. But they're really nice industrial looking assets, aren't they? That's really why I'm using them. I don't need that water backup. We never run out of water in cities. You just place a water tower when you need it. But they definitely have a place, don't they? Alright. You could also use the ore industry storage silos for this sort of vibe as well if you wanted to. It sort of looks like I can get one in there, doesn't it? So this is just a regular crude oil storage from the Industries DLC. But it's going to blend really nicely with my tank reservoirs. And then I can also see an opportunity for a little bit of very limited industrial detailing in the vanilla game. It's a real shame that we don't get access to any significant industrial props without Find It. It makes detailing these builds in vanilla sort of that much more difficult. But I think lots of overgrowth around here, right, especially at the base of the infrastructure. Sort of get it all coming up through here. Okay, a couple of little live oaks in there as well, perhaps. Right, and some long grass as well from the content creator stuff. I think that'd be welcome for a little overgrown industrial green belt. And there we go. Right, so there's a little pathway. Some fencing, and look at that chain link fencing already complementing the build when you position stuff like this, right? So we can really get involved with some industrial servicing sort of vibes like this, can't we? Cool. So I'm happy with that. So far we have ticked off a waste processing complex, 2 pumping services which aren't really needed, tank reservoirs aren't really needed, but we can use them. And then yeah, waste processing complex is fine. So we do have some residential out here at the minute, and we'll continue to have a lot of residential out here as this side of the map grows. So I definitely like a little bit more garbage process in the form of a waste transfer facility. And again, I can sort of see an opportunity as to where these might work quite nicely. Let's have a look at our terrain layer here, because we are moving toward the end of our terraform terrain work. Okay, we will do a little bit more. And again, you know, just putting this stuff on a little layer like this is going to give us a very minute little layer of height in the city. Which you might think, what's the point? But, you know, hopefully now you're learning in Noobs Guide, layers of height are tremendously powerful. You know, you can come into here as a prime example of, you know, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, 6 layers if you count the bicycle highway there. Much more personality, isn't it, when you've got different heights for different builds like this in such a close space. So, definitely worth terraform stuff like this out. So of course, don't worry about the crude tank farm. Once you place it, it will go a little bit nuts just while the AI tries to fill it as quickly as possible. This traffic will subside eventually. So you coming off this highway here? Yes you are, aren't you? Bet you're heading back to the refinery. Yes you are. Okay, that's fine though. Okay, wonderful. What this is slowly piecing together for me, I think. Really hammering that industrial vibe, isn't it? So now we've got the crude tank farms going and some silos and general garbage processing vibes. I did want to place in another little... Could even get that closer, couldn't I? Or we could have it back to back like that. Decisions. Decisions on orientation, everyone. Want to come out a little bit shorter, and then we'll do that. And then you're going to like being placed there. Do we like that placement? Yes, I think we do. I think we do like that placement. Yeah, so we'll just have the waste transfer facility in here. Okay, there's a little bit of fence jank on the back of the rail, but in terms of positioning, I do like the back end of that asset being positioned against all this really busy rail line that's coming through here now, so I think I'm pretty happy with that. Okay. Too bad, is it? We can get on board with it. Anyway, let's move on to some water treatment stuff now. So, if you got Sunset Harbour, you also have access here to the eco inland water treatment plant versions, which is great. That's okay. So why don't we see what we can do with some of the inland water treatment ones. So these ones have got the... I forget the names of these. It's either like a purifier or something else like that. We do have them in ILOS, but yeah, the name escapes me. But basically the big circle of water is the thing I'm referring to. I think we can do something pretty nice with this. So let's just have a little look at the facility overall. So where would we appreciate a little bit of water treatment? I think possibly at the back of these frames here, right? So let's link them together, and then we'll start playing with this space as to what can happen. So we have the Eco Inland Advanced Water Treatment Plant, which is the least pollutive of them all. So let's just see what we think of these ones. We've also got the version that isn't Eco Water Treatment, just the regular max pollutive version. There's not too much variation between them. The only difference is that you get the exposed water, which for me, just visually, screams water treatment a little bit more, doesn't it? So I think I'm going to go with them. Again, I'm going to leave 3 tiles of space between this road, because I want to bring through a couple of different dirt paths between them. Again, just 'cause it's going to help the build settle in a little bit. So we'll go for some dirt path between. Keep everyone walking. Not that there will be an enormous amount of people walking through this area. Okay, and then let's bring this one down again. And again, we can bring those overgrowth pallets in again if we like. Again, if you're on the PC and you'd like to get some more industrial props from the vanilla game, the mod Find It will do it for you. You can just pick out whichever ones you want, like barrels and containers, etc. Makes detailing a lot easier. But without it, for some reason, we don't get access to them, so we have to make do with what we have. Okay, but lots of overgrowth and long grass pallets in and around these areas again will just sort of help them settle in a little bit more. Okay, we're seeing all this fencing coming together now by positioning these assets together. The road itself is looking a little bit more industrial, isn't it? And you can really treat this as a modular format. You can just keep extending out this road here, and as and when your city's needs drop into the red or the orange, you just add on another water treatment facility, right? Same thing again with the processing complexes, tank reservoirs if you're playing with natural disasters on, right? So there's different things we can do. We can be creative in different regards, I think, okay? I might even want to double this up again in the next block. But that would mean I can actually remove almost all other garbage or sewage processing buildings from the map now with these. I think we've got one over here, have we? Yes, this one can be removed now. And there's probably quite a few over at the start of the city. Yes, all of these ones, although these have been factored into sort of industrial themed builds. And equally as much, I can go ahead and reduce my water budget a lot. You know, if you're finding that you're up to 150% water budget, that's quite a lot actually. If we drop that down, yeah, we can see we're still overproducing, so it's an opportunity to save a little bit of money as well, you know. I can bring that down if need be. Fantastic, wonderful. Cool, so let's configure some sort of entrance. I'm thinking that out here is going to be the most obvious point for an entrance, and then we can just snap on a two-way toll booth here. No, it wants a little bit of road first, doesn't it? That's fine then. Let's grab the industrial road. We'll do that. Then we'll throw on at the toll booth. Again, it's more there as a security sort of gate as opposed to an actual functioning toll booth. And then we'll do another stretch of 5 industrial road. That's fine for me. Let's come ahead and grab the industrial roundabout. Go for 5 units each time, make a little 5 deep roundabout. Cool, and then off the back of this now I can bring in some different and varied connections, although might be a case of we want to do a little bit of slope work here first. Let's delete this road, and then we're going to start sloping up from here. Right, and then just up into this space. Then we can allow that terrain work that we've done to start to appear a little bit more natural now. So we'll keep moving in little 5 curves. Let's run up here as well, see if we can hit the guideline of this road. There we go, let's bring it down first actually. And hopefully just a happy connection into there should do us. Yes, and then I think once we've come around and softened all of this out again, should just start to fit into the landscape a little bit more. I think a little bit of that Noobs Guide forest is going to be welcome here as well, isn't it? Let's go ahead and grab some of that Noobs Guide forest. Alright, and there we go. Might be a little bit thick, but we can just get a little bit of an impression. Okay, so we can see that sort of industrial facility now that's hidden on the other side of the tracks there. It's sort of away from any major away from any sort of like major population centres. You know what I mean? Okay, I'm really appreciating this view here of all of them, I think. Especially with those trains coming and going from there too. Very nice. Okay. There we go. It's developing slowly but surely, isn't it? So now that we've got these buildings in, I'd like to see what we can do with maybe sort of a second stage of water treatment, if you like, for the facility as a whole. So let's bring in some frames here, and then I want to drop in some of these inland water treatment plants again, which is going to contribute toward my sewage processing abilities. So this current road configuration here is not going to allow me to place down these assets in the order that I'm envisioning them. So we're going to change that. So go ahead and grab this dirt road again. We're going to break the connection there, which will lose the connection on the areas. And then I want to bring it in a tile sooner. Okay, so I want to come out from this one. Let's have that connect in there. Then this one can come up, reconnect in with its initial frame. And then once we draw these in now, again sticking into the grid just while we do it, let's go from there to there, I think. And then when we do these now, yes, we will be symmetrical within the middle. And we can just bring them all over, leaving one tile between them. That's tremendous. We can see the back of the asset is 240 there, so let's do another 240 at the top, and then we should be able to just back these onto each other now. So again, orientation is always really important. And then once we've got the frame within the frame, and we can connect this in at the corners if we want to create a little bit more interest within the road network. Maybe on an angle will be fine. But we've just got these assets positioned around the back here now with their exposed water as well. And especially from the bird's eye view, you can just get a real sense of the scale here now. Right? I hope it's kind of making sense and coming together in your build as well. Right? Go ahead and connect them into the wider network. Same with these as well. Down in, and then let's get them hooked into the actual city's pipe network so they can start to feed the area once they have power, of course. Tremendous. So I think we'll also bring on another little connecting road out here as well. Although we are going to have to cross 2 rail lines there, however. But it does look like there could actually be an opportunity for a really interesting layer of height there. It depends how much that drops by. Looks like it drops by quite a bit. Let's explore this together. So again, we're just looking for opportunities where layers and bridges can come in. Yeah, I think we're going to do this. So we're going to do it. You can see how much of a height these rail lines climb here. So I'm going to bring them down. I'm just going to remove these rail lines. Okay, and then basically put them at the height that the bridge lands at. Probably about there. Okay, let's just have this come over for the time being. I'm looking to create sort of a bridge with the industrial road, if you like. Should be quite a nice one. It's going to help detail what is quite a bland arterial road at the minute here as well with this industrial frame. It's just kind of sat there chilling by itself at the minute, so hopefully having this recessed rail alongside it is going to give it a little bit more personality. Okay, which is always the challenge in vanilla, right? I think oftentimes you can build quite quickly and end up with quite a bland area. I think just taking time like this to chill out with your networks, craft them a little layer for them to come out on, it can make a world of difference. Cool. So now let's grab the layer from the roundabout where we know we want that industrial road to come out to. Just trimming back those contours lines so they're appropriate for us. Right, and then we'll repeat the same design process with the networks. We'll do a unit of 5 with industrial road. We'll grab another 2-way toll booth because it's a entrance into our dirty industrial area. And then we'll do another measurement of 5 about there. And now we can come on with the road guideline. Let's come on and make sure that first of all, that our train lines can actually clear this area here. We'll come down, we'll see if we can down a little bit there as well. There we go. And we want to come back down to Earth at a distance of 1,100 rather. Right, and then let's let that network run through. That's going to connect all the way back up, isn't it? That's perfect. And I'm almost tempted to actually start curving you beforehand. We'll worry about that in a second, first of all. Let's go ahead. So we want to line it with the road guideline now of the bridge. Or the road, we want to come up by 3, and we want to make sure that first of all we can clear the rail. Connect in there. Then we can connect in there. Tremendous. That's going to be about enough rail clearance, is it? Ooh, it's a tight one, isn't it? It is a tight one. I kind of need to see a train come down it, to be honest. Let's go ahead and get this one hooked in too. Yeah, I can actually bring this one down a little bit sooner, can't I? Bring it straight under like there. Then we can curve it off. Then that gives us some really thick overgrowth and vegetation opportunities in the middle of the network there. Okay, we're starting to see this little facility develop up on the hill, aren't we? Some new designs coming into it, new layers. The roundabout is on a little bit of a hill, but I don't particularly mind that. I think that's okay. Fantastic. There we go. Looks a lot more important that now as well, doesn't it? We'll definitely detail up this road too. Some fencing, a little bit of forest. Lots of overgrowth in the middle there. Cool. But happy with that as a general premise. Fantastic. So there's one more thing that we can look at here. So just because of the way I built Noob Yoke, I now have one factory left. Which is the food factory, which is probably the least appropriate factory to drop into a build that is themed in this style. But another one that does work nicely is actually the sneaker factory, which I think I'm going to steal for this build. So you can bring this, I might actually bring the food factory back over here, or we might just put a warehouse in this spot because we've already got the electronics factory. So either way, I'm stealing the sneaker factory, okay? I want the sneaker factory as part of the build. Let's see, where do we want you? You will actually blend in quite nicely, I think, there, wouldn't you, Mr. Sneakers? But is that the positioning that I want you? I think I'm more friendly to it being factored in towards kind of the highway frontage here, if you like. So I think that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to move it. I'm going to have it sat here. And then we just want to make sure that our terrain work around the networks can actually accommodate a building like this. Which it would seem to. So we can see now we've got this ramp in. I'm actually going to re-terraform kind of the build's land around those new networks now. It's going to give us some fun detail and opportunities and little layers here as well. Which again, I think we can all appreciate at this point in the Noobs Guide, can't we? Also guys, just very appreciative of the fact that you are all still enjoying a vanilla series so much this far into its life cycle as well. Thank you for all the support on Noob Yoke. I'm glad you guys are still enjoying it. And then yes, you will want a water pipe as well, of course. Cool. Okay, but positioning, right? What a wonderful sort of industrial front we've got now as part of our vanilla city. And it's not just there for show either. You know, we've got garbage processing here. The city will now no longer need any more sewage assets placing. Just because we've got so many here and it's so modular. If we need to come and expand this facility, we can just drop in some more of these patterns. So I'm really happy with that. That's going to be really nice. And then we've also got a factory over here as well, which we should actually supply with what it needs. So it does want crops, paper, petroleum and plastic. So 3 of those can be addressed with a warehouse. A large warehouse would actually do really nicely in here. And it's going to accommodate that layer quite nicely too. Should we go for that? I don't think that's the worst thing ever, is it? Okay, it looks like you might even be able to... No, we're not going to do that there. That's like forcing things in. Okay, so we want to find some spots now for some warehouse yards. Okay, it looks like there's a happy little opportunity outside the pumping service stations for some warehouse action. Which we just need to make it a little deeper there. Here we go. We can even have 4 warehouses in here if you don't want the large one in also. The large one would look good up against your highway as well if you wanted to do that. You can bring it in on this side of the highway if you wanted to expand it across both sides. I'm not sure what I'm putting over this side of the map yet, so I'm not going to do that, but you absolutely could say maybe have one side as garbage processing and then the other side of the highway is water treatment. That would really frame your highway network quite nicely. You could do that if you wanted to. Okay, but I think I'm happy with a large warehouse here. I don't think I'm overly against it. If anything, I think I might just want to flip it around. So if we have this one here, then yeah, just expose it to that face so we get the exposed cargo sort of facing into the facility, if you like. Alright, cool. But as a general sort of industrial service complex, it's not too bad. Otherwise guys, that does feel like a good point for a detailed time lapse. Pretty short, simple build today. We're just going to run over, bring in lots of this overgrowth palette that we like, lots of thick vegetation or thick undergrowth from the vanilla game. Then content creator trees on top. And don't forget about other service assets here. Things like your road maintenance depots, pedestrian area service points, all these other sorts of things, content creator garbage processing like the waste disposal unit, other storage buildings and maintenance buildings from your industry's DLC stuff. All of this just combines into these really super heavy industrial focused sort of highway side blocks that you can do in vanilla that are also serving your city as well. You know, they're not just there for aesthetics, it's not props, it's not just sort of general random things you're dropping in from the workshop. We're trying to piece together a functional kind of processing site here in the vanilla game with no props and no mods. So don't just focus on what I'm using. I've gone for factories and a lot of water treatment and garbage processing. Other things will work equally as nicely through here. Don't forget about your fire stations as well. The helicopter depots would work really nicely here. I think I might even put a helicopter depot out on its own little sort of peninsula in the forest. That might be quite nice. But either way, I hope you kind of get the point of today's episode. It's very much piecing together chunkier industrial assets that you don't tend to use that often to create a dedicated build and a much more breathable, realistic space. Either way, let's refine our orientations, detail it all up, chisel out some awkward terrain layers, do some rock work and some highway detailing, and then we can tie it together the Noob Yoke mass water treatment and garbage processing plant. So we'll be right back. Okay guys, let's have a detailing review. So we've constructed a turd out of wild hedges as some flower art to sit in the roundabout entrance into the facility, which I think is quite appropriate. So we've gone for that there, and then also a combination of the modern mid-century car parks combined with the road maintenance building, just as a sort of form of office entrance or administration, if you like, for the front of the facility. And then it's become over the facility to the highway, which has been decorated now with wild hedges and some classic content creator patterns, right? Circle road is lined, wild hedge, repeated eastern cottonwoods, etc. And really love this interchange. Kind of separating all of the entry and exit points across the road network like this. Leads to some really smooth traffic flow, and there's a lot of industry assets here. You know, there's a lot of reason for trucks to use this road. There is a ton of mail that is deciding to get off the highway at this point to head to the mail depot over here, which actually gridlocked this roundabout, but changing it to a 3-lane from the update, totally fixed it. So yes please for 3-lane one-way roads. Then back towards the interchange, you've got some fencing in here as well, alongside some overgrowth in the corners where it's needed, alongside plenty of this overgrowth palette throughout the district. And we've also dropped in some generic industry assets, well not dropped in, zoned in. And you can see once we get these little 4x2 ones coming in with the prop placements on the back, again with specific asset selection and orientations here, we can create some really detailed vanilla corners. Of course, we don't get to use these props in the base vanilla game, which is a real shame. But you know, with the assets we can pretend and make do with what we have, right? This is a nice little configuration. Also upgraded a few of the roads throughout the facility here to these concrete median ones, just again for a bit of more industrial variation, if you like. And then at the end of this road we have a fire watch tower, and I have terraformed out a little sort of plinth of land, if you like, that does hold a fire helicopter landing pad, which I think is quite appropriate this close to something like the ore refinery. And so we've got all those little layers now coming in, right? Kind of see how like the refinery is lower in the valley, and just a little suburb up on the hillside over here. We can see all across New York. It's very nice. Also flattened out this road here as well, so it runs a little smoother heading down there, and then also made some amendments to the rail network because there was a little bit of train traffic here, just because it's a convergence point where quite a few different train lines meet, plus all the intercity and cargo stuff, which isn't usually advisable. It's usually okay for smaller stretches like this, but this is just so busy. So a lot of these cargo trains that are coming down these two lines do prefer to stay on the line and then sort of head this direction out back into the interchange where they're leaving the map. So just rework the train line configuration ever so slightly, and then between the bridge and the rail lines down to this area over here, which will become, I think we're going to do a transport hub here because we've got access to the monorail, which goes right through the heart of the entire city all the way into the downtown. We've got a highway, we do have access to intercity train lines nearby, so we could definitely do sort of like a major city transport centre here. I think that might be next episode. Let me know if you'd like to see a dedicated sort of how to build a transport hub for the Noobs Guide playlist. They've also dropped in a little radio mast as well here from natural disasters alongside our toll booths, and that plenty of that Noobs Guide forest back in here as well. Alongside some more car parking assets in and around where they would live tastefully. I am going to change this asset a thing. I don't think I'm a huge lover of the smokestacks besides them being on the processing complex. So we might change this out, this asset, I'm not entirely sure yet. And our friendly neighbourhood oil industry area was kind enough to lend us a workers' barracks just so we can have, you know, something else within the sort of facility here. And that's really what these builds are all about, right? It's creating a sense of facility. We have this really large, enormous industrial looking block alongside our highways, and in vanilla that can be quite hard to achieve. So, you know, orientations like this, grabbing your purposeful larger assets to help serve garbage processing and water treatment for the city, and using the assets like this is really nice, and the nighttime view is really cool as well. We'll have a brief look here together. Let's actually make sure the highway lights come on as well. There we go. You know, you just get that real sense of industrial sort of beefiness, if you like, for lack of a better word. Alright, I think that's the word that I'm after. But you know, just imagine driving past this on the highway. certainly sort of a sense of facility and place, isn't it? But otherwise, guys, that is going to do it for today. I'd like to thank you all so much for watching. If you've enjoyed it, likes, comments and shares below really do help bring more people to the channel. And equally as much if you haven't enjoyed it, then leave me a dislike as well. Pretty simple build today, but quite effective in the grand scheme of the city. I hope you can agree. We've now got this huge, enormous industrial battery that's just glued to the side of the highway with a really cool, new and interesting service interchange design. Really easy to piece together, that one as well. Please do enjoy some cute cinematics of the new facility and its surrounding network amends, and I will see you next week probably for a transport hub build. Again, let me know down in the comments. Otherwise, I will shut up and we'll leave it there. I'd like to thank you all so much for watching, and as always, enjoy the rest of your day.